Welcome back, one and all. Electrics. Got to do the electrics. I'm not looking forward to this. It's been a funny old week last week, and I'd like to say something to all trolls. You come in on this channel, slagging my abilities off, upsetting the wife, or upsetting other members, you're gone. If you can't be civil and say something positive, I can take criticisms just like the next person, but when you sit there and you start throwing those criticisms with hate in, designed in them, you'll be gone. It's as simple as that. I don't care. I just don't want you here. Makes it bad for other people. It's as simple as that. Upsets the wife, and I don't like it when she's upset. So you're delusional. Nothing you build works. I mean, really. Mate, you're going to have to do better than that. Well, you can't, because I got rid of you. And that's the end of that subject. Right, electrics. We have our ammo boxes down here. And as you remember, we cut holes with the intentions of threading wires through and then running a cable tie over and a bit of rubber. But I think we can go one step further than that, because I picked these up today. What a nightmare they were to get off and all. These, now, if you can imagine a fire lorry, truck, appliance, whatever, flat windscreen, passenger side, on British side, passenger side, footwell, in that area, plastic cover, remove the cover, and then you got an aluminium piece, and behind where the switches are for whatever they're there for, I'm assuming horns, I don't know. Below that, well, behind that is this. This bit here is on the inside, hence all these wires. This bit is on the outside that goes underneath behind the engine cover. That's where you'll find this. On some of them, you'll find them also on a panel behind the cab, in a white box. There's a few that tuck away there, and if you look underneath the bonnet at the front, just above the headlight area, looking above, you'll see one individual one up there as well, and there's a few more scattered, but this is where you'll find them. I believe they're stainless steel pins, but don't quote me on it. I'm not 100% sure. So there you go, that's what you get inside. I mean, not all the pins are there. You could get a spare one and de-pin it. You can buy that Chinese pin kit that I bought a little while back, and you can remove pins and add more and so forth. They're not in the best of condition. I mean, they're very loose actually in there. So they've obviously given out. I got all of them, 20 quid. And they're going to get fixed. There we go. There's the first two. This is the relay box. Got a couple of corroded pins there, they're cleaning up, but other than that, I think we're good to go. So, I've now got to figure out a pattern, a line of what I'm planning to follow. Okay, I bet my mate Andy at Berry is watching this now, going eek, because he knows as well as I do I'm terrible at electronics. And I'm sure he'll sympathise with me. Oh boy, I'm out of my depth here a bit at the moment. What I need to do a I need to do a diagram of how this is all going to go, because at the moment I'm stuck, absolutely stuck. Right, well, I've just been standing here staring at this lot for about half an hour, and I've come to the conclusion I need to put at least one plug into the fuse box one, and I need to build a bus bar. I've looked at the prices of those. They are ridiculously expensive, and I have come up with an idea how I can make one that will actually work and shouldn't cause electrical connections to touch, because you need a plastic cover over the top. In fact, I might cut, because there's a piece there, look, I might cut two strips, that way I can bolt it to the first piece and then sandwich another piece behind it, which means I can even label it if I wanted to for each screw, and then I can run that with two bolts into the tin case, and that should work. Good morning, it's Tuesday. I did a very basic drawing of what I think I need to do. It probably won't make a lot of sense to anybody, let alone a professional that does this for a living, but I know what it is, roughly. I did cock myself up a little bit on the start switch, but basically what we've got going on, a bus bar, ignition switch, so from the battery to the bus bar to the ignition switch, okay, and then from that to the 3 switches which operate the coil, the fuel pump and the start button master on and off, and then you've got the start button itself. These are the relays, that's a continuation from the bus bar, so from up here it all powers off the base of the relays. So you've got the activators, which if I've got this right, those switches will activate the coils, and as soon as that happens it throws the hammer down on the heavy wiring, which then starts to operate all the bigger stuff down below, starter motor, pump and the coil. Well, that only took a couple of hours. They're all numbered, and yeah, it needed to be done because not all the wires went to the same colour on the other side. So yeah, I think we need to clip them together. They're getting on my nerves, and we need, now I've pulled that all off, that was a silly move. We better put that somewhere safe because it's got to go back on again. Right, next stage I suppose, we need to build a bus bar. Put the few relays back in the tub and find a space for a bus bar, because we've now got to go for a live from that starter to the bus bar. But what I've just noticed, I haven't connected the alternator up. Oh, what a pain in the butt. Look where that bugger is. Right down the damn bottom. I think it's the same alternator that was on the previous one, because I've changed all this frontage. So that's got to be clipped on as well before I go any further with this. We do have a lot of room here actually, so I could actually weld a plate to hold a bus bar on there, or something similar anyway. It's all my fuses that came out of the dash area, passenger side of a fire appliance, along with that rack that I got with the relays on. That also came from that area, and these plugs, they came from an area on the floor on the passenger side. So when you take that entire cover off, they're tucked right down, and they are an absolute mare to get out because they seem to get wet, and they're in an area where moisture destroys the nuts. And this is the plate that holds the plugs that I'm talking about. See? So eventually you got to hammer on, and everything is in the way. So the row of circuitry that's just above, because that lay on the floor like that, that is how it sits. And you've got a row of circuitry that runs along, and you've got to strip all of that out to get to these 2 back ones. Otherwise you just ain't going to get to them. Once you remove them back ones and the 2 front ones, this you then snip all the wires back, and then that falls out. But it's a nightmare. So if you're going for this stuff, I would take the relays out first, which is on the rack above. Then I would take the fuses out. I can't exactly remember what order that was in. Once you've done that, remove all the electronics along the bottom, which is all signal electronics and stuff, and solenoids. There's an air solenoid in there. Take that all out, and then you've got access behind. The plastic, if you're at a scrapyard, just snap the plastic off at the bottom, because getting those screws undone, because there's 2 foot pedals switches, I assume for sirens, for the passenger to press. So you've got a load of they're rusted up. Forget about even trying. So just cut the plastic away or snap it, and then you can get down, watch everything sharp. I ended up taking a cordless grinder and a fire extinguisher with me, just so I could clear that bottom area of metal, so I could get behind to get to all of that. They are a nightmare to remove, they really are. Once you've got them off, to get the plugs off, because they're usually screwed as well, you need to get a grinder and just cut in, you know what I mean, and then they pop out, and then the rest is history. Okay, we have a new problem. I'll show you. The water bottle, which normally goes by the bulkhead, is now going to have to get moved, and that's going to have to go in the boot at the back. The ammo box that goes here, all of this lot is in the way. I'm stupid because I should have put the box in first and then routed everything round, and I didn't. I knew I was going to pay the price for that later, and the problem I got is I can't seal the lid down, because now those hoses are there, I can't operate that. So the bottle will have to go in the back above the battery. I ain't got any choice in the matter. And the ammo box is going to have to go on some brackets over there. Now, to be honest with you, those water bottle brackets were terrible anyway. I'm not overly worried about this. I just have to reroute the box somewhere else. So I'm going to make up that unit that I need to do for the inside of the box. It just means what will help is the thick wire that's got to go down at the starter to the bus bar will be shorter. I've got that already, not a problem. It just means it'll be over there now instead of here. Well, we hit lucky. A few years back I bought a whole load of scrap machinery over the back there, which came with a load of other bits of scrap like brass and God knows what. The guy was building a clock by the look of it. I don't know who it was for. I don't have the skill to finish it, and I don't have the plans for it anyway. So here is the plaque that I think he was going to stamp. He's machined it and everything. I mean, he did a good job of that. I've just drilled it all out and destroyed it. And I've now got loads of holes drilled in for cap heads to go in. So originally it was a case of just screwing down with the terminal, but do you know what? I think I want these strong. I think I'm going to make use of the threads, wind a cap head through each one, do it up as tight as I can get it, and then I might put a lock nut down, and then we'll put a piece of perspex behind it. We'll drill the holes in the perspex so the cap head is hidden, and then a second piece of perspex at added strength on top of that, and we'll bolt the two halves together, and hopefully there'll be no terminal touching anything. We don't want that earthing out. We do need a lid for this though. I'm a little stuck on that one. So what I might do is get some connecting nuts on the perspex each side, 4, and then cut another piece to lay on top, run some long bolts through, so it'll be 8mm, run some long bolts through, and then 4 butterflies on each one, and then that way it's cased in, or just 2 even will be enough, and then nothing can happen. As a bus bar stroke board goes, I'd say this one is absolutely terrible. It all went wrong when I tried to sand the sides down. The plate under the sander is trashed. So when I laid it down, it just went all over the place. That will teach me for lending my tools out. Yep, a person is watching and he knows who he is. So 4 bolts holding that on, drilled in underneath badly. I don't even know where I was going with those ones, but they didn't quite work out either. And had I put that bottom base plate on the correct way, I may not have needed to sand that down. So there's half the reason why that went wrong. I've sandwiched it together as best as I can get it. I've got some 10mm going through there because all I had. So we've got a little bit of thread left. I might cut those down a little bit. Look at how unsquare that is. Look, it's going to work either way. There ain't no fooling any of you lot, I know that, so I'm not even going to attempt it. The lid didn't go as square as I tried. When I put my my bandsaw on, I haven't used that thing in 15 years. It fell apart. So kicking and a grinding it was. I managed to cut that out, but unfortunately it didn't go as well as I'd have liked it to. This one here is sunk inside the nut because it's just crap. Yeah. I need to get some cap heads on that. I need another washer underneath, another one underneath there. I need to kick the ends over as I've already done, weld the two ends together, drill a smaller hole through with a small rivet going through that to hold that in place, because this one here cracked. Now I could make another one, but you know what? This thing has wound me up no end. And as far as I'm concerned, that is it. That's done. Right, well, what I didn't say was is the plugs are on now, on the bottom. Ain't sealed yet, ain't sealed anything yet. So I've took the fuses out. I do need to straighten that perspex up a little bit, it's a bit scruffy. And don't get me wrong, guys and girls, I know it's wonky, okay, I'm fully aware of it, and I'm utterly annoyed with myself about it, and I will deal with it. Before I do anything with that though, I want to make sure the lid goes back on, because I think the nut might be a little bit too high here. Possibly. Simple wiring, and it's getting confusing already. Okay, it's simple as this. We've got bus bar that sends a live signal up, through, down, all the way around to there, down to there, into that white wire there. These two eventually will touch, right? And the other one, which is coming off a fuse, no it isn't. Where is the other one coming from? Right, that's on the back of those along there. So that live touched together will make a connection through those fuses and send power out that way. Okay, so 4, 3, 2 and 1 is the individual 3 wires, which happens to be these ones. They are coil activation wires. So there is my relays, there is the coils, there's the earths. This one, a little bit more trickier, purple and white. If I got this correct, that goes through to there into the ignition switch. That makes a connection which activates a... Right, let me explain what's going on here, because I was a bit confused earlier, but I've done a bit of reading now. Cable size in millimeters squared. That's the cross-sectional value of the cable. That's the inner core. So 0. millimeters squared, that is the entire overall diameter of the core inside. Well, you ain't joking, this is really overwhelming. Because I'm trying, oh for God's sake, now where did that land? Because I'm trying to do this properly because of some of the critics that I've had in the past, and because I don't want all my hard work to catch fire, and because I want to come across a little bit more professional than I have done in the past. I'm trying to do this properly. But trust me, it ain't easy. It really isn't. I'm having a lot of aggravation. So we are now on the Rotax aircraft switch. Even though it's 20 amps, should be fine personally. Tested it, wired it. I think it came off a Vulcan. I think that's where he said it sold it to me. There's the configuration. So I'll connect that corner and that corner together, and then the main for the switch goes in. So there's a second switch here, you see a master switch, that one. So master switch goes to the center, and then that one comes out there, which goes somewhere, and I can't remember where. You see what I'm saying? I'm getting a little overwhelmed. I think that goes to the starter motor. Yes, that goes to the starter motor. Well, this camera has been a great camera. It's no longer going to be the main camera. My new one came in this afternoon. I'm pleased to announce, so we're just charging the batteries up, and then we're going to have a little play with it tonight to see what is what with it, because I think the memory is going to get eaten because it's all 4K. Okay, good morning guys, girls. So today it's relays. going to tackle the relays. So I've made up about 90% of that loom so far for the ignition system. We've got to send, excuse me a minute, we've got to send those black, white, red and stripe. I've got to get a power and its own relay. That's the key switch one. That's what activates everything. And underneath that lid is all the little switches, and we've got all of these wires here that go off to activate relays, and then we've got to do another wiring loom from the relays. Whew. Actually, this is the bridge for the relays, that one. That's the permanent power. So yeah, okay, I got it a bit wrong. That needs to be wired into that, and those wires, not those ones, I've got that wrong as well. The ones underneath there have got to be wired into that, and then they've got to come out again for everything else to be put on. I have a surprise for you this morning. We're now in high definition, and you get about 20% more picture with this camera because I've got a wider lens. 20% more. When I stood by this back door yesterday and held the camera and my other one on that car at this distance, all you could see was the roof of the car, the front and the floor. But now you get everything else in 4K. I've still got to tweak the settings. I think I nailed them so far. Good camera, loving it. Well, we're back on the old camera because the hard drive, the memory card is full, and I was only on that other one for about 10 minutes. Unbelievable. Flipping heck, that was unbelievable. But I did have it set on permanent 4K, so it's not surprising. Anyway, it's a learning curve because we've got to load that up on the computer next as well. And I don't think my computer's going to... Right. Believe it or not, this is fully wired up. Well, almost. I've just got the bus bar. I found that in my cupboard. 60 amp fuse. Means I don't have to use that scruffy old thing. Relays are in. Trigger switches are in. I've just got to drill a hole for the earth to go through and then go onto the bulkhead. Starter motor, solenoid. Believe it or not, I added that after as an afterthought. There's that one, and there's that one. That's for the alternator light. What else is there? Oh, hell bells! I can't remember half of them. 2 wires going down there. What the hell are they for? I've forgotten. And I've got to draw ignition switch. That's the other thing I've got to wire in. Ignition switch. I think I'm going to put those on 2 little sockets or 2 little dooblies or something, because I want to be able to remove this again at a later date. So I'm not finished yet. Damn. So we'll add on some wires to the back of those when I find the right ones, and we'll go from there. Well, I've just literally packed away. I'm absolutely cream cracked. No joke on that. And I still ain't finished because I've now got to fit it all. But I think what I might do tomorrow, I might plug it all in. I know, look at this, unbelievable, isn't it? I might plug it all into a battery charger tomorrow and put a test meter to everything and see what illuminates. If I've got it correct, the charger shouldn't pop and my test meter should rattle. So loads of it. Look, I only taped up as far as the joins because I've got to do a plan on my colour coding, and I'm only going to come out of the plugs with the colours, so I needed to keep those clear here just so I knew which one would meet me at the other end. But once I've got those colours done, I'm taping that sucker up with the intentions of never ever returning to those wires again, unless I have underrated everything and it all catches fire. Hope not. I followed that chart as best as I could with what I had. I mean, I've gone totally over the top on some of them, which you need to. Unfortunately, fuel pump, in the end I just took an 82 pill, and what I had left got put on the end, so it should be fine. But I guess we'll find out, won't we? I'm done in now. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I ain't gonna kid you, this has been an epic, boring week for me. Now, I plugged this in the first time. Maybe I should have shown you. That would have amused some of you for definite. But I plugged it all in, turned the ignition on. No relays clicking, not one. What the hell is going on? So I popped the wire off the ignition switch, put a live to that, and then I had something work. A couple of relays were kicking in, but again, not all of them were working. So I'm wandering into the shed, and just as I get halfway up the grass, I found a fuse on the floor. But the main power to the ignition was not fused. So when I popped that in, everything sort of worked, but we still had a few cock-ups, and one of the cock-ups was here. As you can see, I've had to do some cutting, but that blue originally went to the middle, and that should have gone to the switch. And then that live, sorry, that live, oh God, I can't remember now. Doesn't matter, it works. I've got power going through to those 3 wires. I mean, all of that for 3 wires. Mad, innit? But it does make sense to put fuses in, obviously, and it does make sense to have relays, because you can have lighter wires on the switches. You don't have to have big, bulky, old-fashioned click-on, click-off switches, you see. This way I can have those little sensitive switches, and that fires up everything that needs to fire up. That little start button there, that goes straight to a relay, no ifs or buts. So we shouldn't get any problems, we shouldn't have any blowouts or burnouts or any of the above. So flick that on, power is now going to the switch. Relay is now on. $10 volts flying into that. So we've got 11 coming out of the charger. It was exactly 11. So there you go, you figure the percentage out, 10.86. Going through all of this little lot. If it's less than 3%, I'm happy. And that's bearing in mind we've got that. And so everything is doing what it's supposed to. So we'll connect that one up. On. You lot know more about, well, I'm assuming some of you know more about this than I do. I followed that guide chart as best as I could with the materials that I had. So there's my 3 switches. And that's the ignition switch off. There you go. Apart from that switch system, everything seems to be working. Okay, well there you go. It's not the longest of videos, but it touches on a few subjects, so we're going to disappear now, and I'll see you next week. Next week we'll fit all of this lot with a bit of luck and go from there. Thanks for your likes and shares on the previous video, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye. Oh, new camera coming if I haven't already mentioned it. Already got it, just waiting for a memory card.